Nigeria. Well, joining me on the program in just a moment is Mosumola Omoro. She's a founder of Abira Agri-Business Support Initiative, and she's also a Nagrapreneur. Well, we're going to find out all about that in just a moment, but let me quickly tell you that it's all over the news that the federal government is trying very hard to diversify the economy away from oil and focus more on agriculture. Now, plans to revive this sector with the federal government's Transformation Action Plan, that is the Agricultural Transformation Agenda, includes creating a new generation of young commercial farmers that will help transform the sector and guarantee food sufficiency for the nation now and well into the future. So you know what that is, but I'm now being joined, as I said, by Mosumola Omoro. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
It's great to be here.
Well, let's talk about the Agricultural Transformation Agenda. There's been so much, about it. What's your general assessment of the agenda?
I believe that it's the move in the right direction, and it's a very timely one at that. It's important for the federal government to be actively involved in charting the course to diversify the economy. For a very long time, we've been extremely dependent on oil, and we spend a lot of money on the importation of food, and no economy or nation can survive based on importation. And for us to really grow the economy, agricultural sector is one sector that actually guarantees increased inclusion in the growth of our economy. And it also has huge potentials to create jobs for our unemployed youth.
Okay. When you were talking now, you spoke about ensuring food security. Yeah. What, in your view, are the major impediments to food security in Nigeria?
I think one of the major focus is the fact that even though we have a large amount of arable land, it is underutilized. And because of that underutilization, we also have issues with water management, irrigation. So a lot of people find agriculture hitherto difficult to engage in. But if the federal government now comes in, as they have done, to actually help create an enabling environment.
That's for private sector.
For private sector, it makes it a lot more interesting for more people to come and invest in the sector.
Well, I see that you're the founder of Abira Agri-Business Support Initiative. So, is agriculture a passion or a hobby or just a means of generating wealth for you?
It's a lifestyle for me. I mean, if you think about how far I've come, it's my 9th year in the sector, and this is all I have done straight out of college. And for me, there's a huge burden to actually see more young people come into the sector, because my colleagues and contemporary within the sector are within the age bracket of 50 and 65. So Abira was primarily set up to help get more young people into the sector, and even more so get more women actively engaged in commercial agriculture.
Okay, so now are you saying that the youths are not getting enough support? But just just tell us. You say most of your colleagues in the industry are between 50 and 65 years old. Yes. So is it that the youths are not getting enough support to venture into this?
Well, the youths are not even seeing the potentials within the sector. So a lot of them, the barrier to entry can be high in some instances. Access to land, access to finance, lack of collateral actually inhibits a lot of young people from getting engaged in the sector. And beyond that, a lot of people see agriculture as from the primary production aspect, where they have to get used to the hoe and using their hoe and cutlass to till the soil. So all this is the drudgery in agriculture, but people aren't looking at agriculture as a business. So one of the things I'm excited about the ATA is the fact that it focuses on agriculture more as a business, as opposed to being a developmental program.
Yes. We noticed that last week at the 19th Nigerian Economic Summit, and I also met you there. You're also one of the panelists who spoke, very extensively and very passionately about encouraging young people in agriculture. Now, at that summit, the first day of the summit, the president actually launched the Youth Employment in Agriculture program. What are your thoughts about?
My thoughts about the program, because I was actually part of the process in designing, coming up with the design of that program, my excitement is that a lot of the limitations that young people would usually encounter if they want to venture in agribusiness is going to be tackled, one of which is access to land and access to finance. The Nagra Program, set up by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, chaired by the Honorable Minister, is going to be creating low-cost funding for young people in agriculture, and it would also help partner with state governments to ensure that they do a lot of land preparation. Because when people even want to venture, the cost of clearing land, for instance, is so high that a young person will probably not want to engage.
Well, you said the cost of getting land and, of course, accessing funds. These are not the only two challenges that we're talking about. A lot of people have to have the mindset to go into this as a business venture and not as a development program, as everybody has been talking about.
Absolutely.
Now, let's talk about you, for instance. You say you've been in this for about 9 years, coming out from school and all of that. Is that what you studied in school? Was that
I did study zoology.
Okay.
But I took elective courses in fisheries and botany.
Okay.
And that formed the background for my engagement. I also identified the opportunity early enough. At the time when I got into the sector, it was the emergence of the QSRs in Nigeria. And the question that came to mind readily was, who would be supplying the raw materials for production? And I took advantage of that. So I saw a gap. I decided to meet that gap, and it's been an interesting 9 years.
Okay. Now, you didn't major in that in school.
Yes.
And there's some people who actually go to school to study agriculture. Yes, exactly. Do we have enough in the curriculum to encourage such ones so that when they come out, the first thing they're thinking about is to be in the agribusiness and not to probably go to start working in the blue-collar job environment?
One of the things that I like about the Nagrapreneur plan is that it's also helping to go back to the agricultural institutions to begin to incubate agribusiness clubs within their institutions to ensure that we get these people ready for the work life outside once they finish from the university. It would decentralize the focus on theoretical agriculture and focus a bit more on practice, and also position them for work life. There will be a lot of capacity building under the Nagrapreneur program. So it's not just throwing money at young people and giving them, but the skills need to be really built to get them ready for production and processing and packaging.
Okay, you've actually put this phrase Nagrapreneur so many times in everything you're saying. I'm not sure a lot of people understand what Nagrapreneur is.
Well, it was coined out of being an entrepreneur, but being a Nigerian, a young Nigerian in the agricultural space.
Okay. So
it was just coined out of a Nigerian agricultural entrepreneur.
Okay, so we have Nagrapreneur. Now you're talking about putting this starting in this curriculum building from the tertiary institution.
Right.
Wouldn't it be a little more interesting? Getting these people to change their mindset even from the secondary school, even from the primary to secondary school level, just before they get to the tertiary institution. Because, there's so many aspects of...
across the agricultural value chain.
Exactly. So everybody has to know where their strengths lie.
Now, what we would see happen over the next 5 years is the fact that there'll be a change in the communications that would go out. The ministry is working closely to ensure that we actually get more, the entertainment industry, the media, like you're doing this morning, to actually educate the populace to begin to see the benefits within the agricultural space and the potentials. It's going to go beyond formal education to informal education, and once we begin to do that, it would come down to the primary schools, because we would then have farm clubs in primary schools, and then the extracurricular activities will, like Lagos State is already starting, is to actually revive the Young Farmers Club and just bring all of that to bear. And I mean, it's just an exciting program.
I'm very sure it is. Now, just hold your thoughts. We actually caught up with the Africa Development Bank President, Donald Kaberuka, sometime last week, and he shared his thoughts on what we're just talking about, that is, including agriculture in the, curriculum of schools. Please take a listen.
Our middle classes actually going into farming. That is the beginning of something quite big. So maybe in the past, yes, we thought farming was for poor people who have nothing to do, And the states behaved like that. But now there's a shift. There are opportunities in the global market out there. There are opportunities for people to make money in the farming sector, whether it is fishing, cattle keeping, or cropping. Now, I like to believe that Nigerian people, like people everywhere, are rational economic agents. Where there's a profit, there's money to be made. Provided life is made easy for them, they will go there. Now, should we then also work on our curriculum at school? Probably. I think we need to equip our people with the skills related to entrepreneurship. But beyond that, I think someone raised an issue which I think is critical. If you're a farmer, you have your little factory there to process what you produce. You need someone to fix your tractors, to make sure your machines are working. In many of the African economies, those skills in the middle, from builders, electricians, people who make machines, people who make things happen, they're very much in short supply. So I think we need to indeed reintroduce entrepreneurship in our curriculum, but above all, we need to train people to equip them with skills which need to run an industry like agriculture.
President of the Africa Development Bank, Donald Kaberuka, speaking on Nagrapreneurship. Now, you listen to what he said. What are your thoughts?
That's the direction we need to be heading. We actually need to begin to help young people see that whatever skill it is they acquire from the tertiary institution, primary institution, from the formal education is required within the agricultural space. For instance, for every production line, you would require an engineer, you would require an electrician, you would require, for the farm, you would require tractor operators. So for me, with the Nagra Program, one of the things I hope to see is ensure that we focus less on a lot of the formal skills and get people to begin to take training in tractor management, in cold storage facility maintenance, in processing, in packaging, and begin to look at logistics as a holistic business. Just think of a holistic approach to the agricultural value chain. And once young people can look at it from that perspective, they would realize that they can all just position themselves strategically.
But what is the best way to attract and retain youths in the sector that has so much potential to reduce unemployment, create wealth, and feed the nation?
I think the first approach would be to get the group of young people who are currently unemployed to be employed into the sector. How can we do that? If you're an accountant, for instance, your skills is required within the agribusiness space because the farmer is more focused on getting his seeds sown and he's waiting for a bountiful harvest. The challenges with a lot of, greater challenge with a lot of farmers over the years that I have seen and I have also experienced is that for some of us, we're too busy practicing agriculture and we're not keeping proper books. And if you want to go to the banks to access finance, you need to be bankable. So we would require the skills of an economist, a business development manager. You would require marketers to help you with the distribution of your product. So young people need to begin to see themselves as solutions within the sector and come in with their skills, and actually together we can transform the sector.
But what is there to make them feel that this sector is something that will give them money in their pocket, food on the table, and a sense of belonging?
The truth is, because we're no longer looking at this agriculture as a developmental plan, is a business. So if I, as an entrepreneur, I run my business, I would hire people with requisite skills to help me sustain my business. So we're all trying to build structure, and if I'm building structure, I would position people in the right space within the group. And once people come in, we will pay value. We will pay the premium like it is in the open market to people that we hire. So every agribusiness company is ready to absorb and hire people with requisite skills to help scale up their operations and help them become global players in the market space.